cookies. Cookies accepted. In less than 24 hours, you will have $1,000 in your account, and then $1,000.
Hey there, we are here to present. How y'all doing? Another financial new. Hope y'all are doing well. Today we're going to be finding DORA, Digital Operation Resilient Act. This is a meaty presentation. We'll see if you want to skip to the end, but I gotta sit through it. So let y'all know we're going to talk about DORA. Let's get into it today. Iron Financial New. Doo-doo. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Bam. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Bam, 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 bam. Let's get it.
To our webinar. So today we're talking about finding DORA. I'm Jörg Hesselink. I'm the CEO of DC Smarter. And today I have Device42 with me. We are a Device42 partner, reseller and system integrator. So let's get started with a little round of introduction. So first of all, I'd like to give the word to Bob Hart.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bob. I'm the field CTO here, and I work as the Senior Partner Solution Architect, mapping directly to our wonderful partners like DC Smarter.
Thank you, Bob. And over to John.
Hi there, I'm John Hyde. I'm Director of Strategic Alliances with Device42. 20 years in the industry. It makes me a bit of a dinosaur for some people, working in DCIM, also cloud transformation, cloud architecture technologies, brings me straight back to Device42 as a hybrid.
Super, thanks a lot. So a little bit of housekeeping. So we got 45 minutes in total. I will show you in a minute the agenda of today. So what we're going to do is the first 15 minutes will be more the theoretical part. What is DORA? What are the challenges and so on. But then the next 15 minutes, we will really go into live demo. So Bob will take the lead on that. If you have any question in between, feel free to use the Q&A section in Microsoft Teams. So you have a button there. Anytime, please ask question. We're going to pause as we go, and then John Hyde will also pick up the question and give each of us the ball to answer the questions. So, and then, yeah, looking really forward to interactive discussion, and hopefully you find that useful. Talking about DORA, so first of all, here is the agenda. So we first give everybody a quick introduction on what DORA is, the key requirements, and how important IT asset management is. But also we will talk obviously about the challenges, physical inventory management, which is also where we come in from DC Smarter, and you will learn more about how that works. The cybersecurity challenges all of us are facing these days. What are the potential solutions? But then the key takeaways, and most important, the live demo, as we see how this can be addressed in using tools. So first of all, DORA. So what is DORA? So DORA stands for Digital Operational Resilience Act. So this is not finding DORA, and you may have seen this animated video or animated movie with the fish who is basically trying to find home. But we found that the analogy is pretty good. Why? Because as DORA is trying to find home and has different roadblocks to overcome and finding things to get to the ultimate target, it's a very nice analogy. So this is not the animated movie. So this is really the Digital Operational Resilience Act. Now, it is a EU-wide regulation, and it's really there, or it's aiming to strengthen the operational resilience. Why? For two main reasons. First, technology disruption. And we hear a lot these days about critical infrastructure, but also when it comes to cyber threats. I mean, recently, many companies have been facing cyber threats or actually disruptions, you know, things like updates to certain cybersecurity software. So all that can lead to some impact. And the framework is really there to mitigate that risk and help the financial sector to keep running, right? Offering financial services. When you look into DORA, it is really focusing on the financial sector. So this is, like many other industry, reliant on digital technologies. It's fair to say that no other business or many other businesses are relying on digital technologies. And what I keep on saying is, look, if you look about technology, on the end of the day, you have compute, network, storage, and you have networking. And that all together is actually housed in a data center, whatever the data center is. Is it a hypervisor? Is it a co-locator? Is it your own data center? It doesn't matter. That's the home of your critical infrastructure. And you need to make sure that this is really reliant and resilient. And this is what DORA is really about. So it's an EU-wide regulation, which now comes into effect. And this is why there is a call to action. We all need to be ready since DORA will be starting on January 17, 2025. Now, it applies to all financial entities, but what many people underestimate is that it also applies to ICT, third-party service providers. So those information technology and communication companies who serve the financial industries are actually under this DORA regulation. So this is something really important to mention here. Now, if you look at DORA, what are the key requirements? So first of all, you need to understand the risk of your business, and there is a comprehensive risk management framework required. And this is usually in business terms where you talk about business impact analysis, business recovery and disaster recovery management. But also a very important aspect is the incident response and the business continuity planning. So only that will allow you to recover timely. There must be a rigorous testing and auditing of ICT systems. I used to be an IT leader in the company. I was in charge at the time of SAP. And I mean, I can tell you what I was always doing is pull the plug exercise. Did my team like it? Did they like me for that? No, because I didn't warn them. I said, look, I'm going to go into the data center and pull the plug. This is the only way to find out if the system is resilient and working or not. Important also is the fact that as part of DORA, we need to enhance the information sharing. So the collaboration between, or the cooperation between the financial institution and the regulator is key. So to share information, you have to have this information the first time. And then finally, compliance requirements are changing, right? They're getting more and more stringent. When you look into risk, because a lot is about talking about risk, based on the 2023 Global Technology Risk Study, here are the top 3 critical ICT risks we are facing. First, data privacy and data security. No doubt, we need to protect sensitive data from unauthorized access, but also digital business interruption, as we talked before. So this is basically cyber attacks, system failures, data breaches, and so on. And last but not least, technology errors and omission. So this could be as simple as a change which is introduced and causes downtime and ultimately financial loss. So these are the top 3 risks in ICT we are currently facing. Now we're getting back to ICT or IT asset management. And this is very simple. When you look at frameworks like DORA, but you can also look into other frameworks like NIS2. You look into energy efficiency. There's a fundamental thing you need to know, which is what you got. If you don't know what you have, then you won't protect or you will ever improve it, right? So it starts basically with a good understanding of your asset management. This is crucial. It all starts there. If you can't handle that, everything else on top you build is really questionable. Now, what are the challenges which we are facing in IT asset management? This is not new. First of all, visibility gaps. So incomplete data on hardware and software, but it could be even, that you have your workloads on-prem, but you also host certain workloads maybe in the cloud. So hybrid approach is really desperately required. Siloed process. We see this all the time. Think about IT maybe not talking to engineering, or IT not talking to facilities, vice versa. I don't want to blame one or the other, but the reality is oftentimes you still have siloed processes to deal with. Third, rapid technology change. We keep on changing things. And as you change, any change is an enemy for asset management. Why? If that change is not recorded, your system of record is outdated. It's simple as that. And then you are also, from a regulatory standpoint, are not compliant. And last but not least, compliance and complexity. DORA is one, but as I said before, there are many other regulations, and you really want to be on top of it. Now, when it comes to asset management, there's one thing also, and especially in DORA and in NIST too, there is an important aspect, which is the physical inventory. So it is not just to go out in a network, scan your network and know what you got. It is also important to know where this is. So here in this picture, you basically see the data center. It goes down to say, okay, where's your compute, where's your storage, where's your network gear, in which data center, in which room, in which rack, in which height unit. All these are very important aspects, and that's why the physical inventory plays also a pivotal role in this. If you talk about cybersecurity through IT asset management, you talk about three things. So vulnerability identification, this is really where you have to have a comprehensive IT asset management, which provides you insight not into hardware, also into software components. So this will allow you at any given point of time to ask simple questions like end of life, end of support. Is the software which I'm running on these systems, which are hopefully under support, vulnerable? Are there any known vulnerabilities out there? And if so, give me the list so that I can close the gaps. Proactive risk management, no doubt. It's all about understanding the risk I have, which usually derives from business impact analysis, really top business services, which you're breaking down to basically the applications which form this business service, and these applications, they run on your infrastructure. So you need to know where your risk as a business resides, but then really break it down from the top to the bottom, lowest level. And then, of course, incident and response and recovery, it's very obvious. Now, when you look into integrating asset management and physical inventory management, as I said, this is not enough just to go out and scan the network. Yes, they're beautiful tools, can do magic things, but there's still a challenge when it comes to physically mapping it out to really know which critical assets reside into which location, room, rack, height unit. Now, why is this also important? It's also because of physical security. You need to secure the assets. So physical security is another aspect, and that is why physical inventory management is still one thing you want to do. Now, this comes with this unified visibility. You want to have that visibility logically as well as physically in the cloud as well as off the cloud. And this is where solutions can play nicely together, like Device 42 plus our software, which is called DC Vision. Synchronized process, we talked about silos, like here in this case, I took the example of ICT or IT and facilities. So we need to bring them together, and a great solution for that is basically data center infrastructure management, because data center infrastructure management addresses the needs of both. It addresses the needs for facility when it comes, for example, to power utilization, measuring, or doing the metering in terms of power consumption, but also when it comes to IT. So it's a great way to bring them together using a single tool and break these silos. And then last but not least, the risk-based approach, where you really should always focus on what is most important or what is most risky. So with that, I'll go quickly now to the conclusion and the key takeaways before we then start the live demo. So first of all, you have to have a comprehensive IT asset management solution. This is essential. You need to know what you have logically as well as physically to comply ultimately with DORA regulations. Again, my message is you can't protect or improve when you don't know you have it. So that's a must do. Secondly, you have to have proactive cybersecurity measures. So ideally, with a few clicks, you get to meaningful reports, and we will see in a minute some of these reports, which helps you to get to vulnerabilities, to risk, and how to go after it. And then, as discussed, we need to integrate the physical and the digital side. So there is still physics involved as well as digital. So it's basically both, not just one, and continuous improvement. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Bob, who is going to give us a live demo on device 42.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the setup. Let me share my screen really quick and we'll jump right in for the sake of time.
The sales CRM that keeps you on track. Pipedrive, driving business growth.
Valentine's Day is filled with the unexpected.
All right, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, perfect. And with that, let me first start off really quickly with talking about kind of the breadth of discovery, because it's important, as Jörg mentioned, that you can't protect what you don't know you have. And what Device 42 is known for is being the world leader in the breadth of discovery. So making sure that we get all the data center components, the network, storage, certainly all your compute, whether that's new OSs or something old like Windows NT, old Unix derivatives, mainframes, AS400s. What you have, we will find. And everything is predicated on that. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that really quickly. I have like a screen on screen. I don't know if you're seeing a screen on screen as well.
No, we see just a single screen. So just
okay, good. I wanted to make sure that I can live with it, but I wanted to make sure I'm not messing it up for you guys. So the way that Device 42 does this is it does it through several different scans. That could be something like a network scan using SNMP. It could be scanning your cloud environment using cloud connectors. It could even be grabbing things like certificates, taking a look at warranty syncs on your hardware, doing an API scan on storage to find out how it's mapping within the environment. But ultimately, what it's going to do is it's going to create these very deep records, which I may or may not be able to get to with that layover on top of this. So I will just jump right into the reports then. So a record would typically give us information like the OS itself. It would tell us the serial numbers. It can do a warranty sync. It will also grab stuff like NetStack collection information. So all the service communications coming in and out of the device. It will take a look at resource utilization. It will hit the package manager, find out all the installed software. That's very important for Jörg's point about the vulnerabilities. But then it will also grab topology information by looking at all those service communications as well as the storage dependencies. Ultimately, what we can do is boil up information to something like this. So I could very quickly find that I had 1,700 devices. I could quickly get an idea of what I had for insecure ports. What does that mean? Maybe that's port 22 open to the public internet. I could take a look to see if my devices had end-of-life products, if I had expired certs, if I had machines that didn't have TLS 1.2 or greater, implying that those are cryptographically weak machines. So there's a lot of information that we can boil up really quickly so that you can make decisions on it. But I think more importantly, taking a look at how you're using this environment. So as I scroll through, can I identify, like this chart does here, that 56% of my servers are not peaking above 10% CPU utilization. So immediately I have some information here that I should be working with, either to save money, or I would argue a security concern here, right? If 56% of my servers aren't adding business value, but are a breachable target, what is that doing for my overall resilience? If there's gaps in ways that people can move into it. This chart is particularly useful because what I'm doing in this report is taking a look through my entire environment and taking a look at all my OSs, aggregating it by version. So every single version of OS I have within my entire ecosystem, what do I have for number of devices, number of cores, number of CPUs? Obviously, that comes into that compliance piece. But this is really going to help to make sure that I'm not relying on a bunch of end of support, end of life OSs, as well as the financials around that, right? If I need to kind of restate my license profile. Doing the same thing for all the installed software within my environment. Again, this is going to play into that vulnerability workflow because now I can see all the different distributions, all the different versions of all the software found within my environment. Some other information here is grabbing those security and communication risks. So if I wanted to, I could jump in and find out all my devices that do have port 22 open, for instance, to get an idea of what that attack radius could be. As well as taking a look at even things like zombie cloud resources. So am I using stuff in the cloud, but I'm not actually using it? So cloud instances that aren't running but haven't been deleted, EBS volumes that aren't attached to anything. So that's just a breach risk waiting to happen. But the way that Device 42 kind of gets and curates this data, it really is based not only on the discovered assets, but also on the workflows. One of the biggest problems that financial institutions have is everybody speaks a different language. You have your network team, you have your storage team, you have your hardware team, you have the application team, and none of them really understand how everything mapped together. Because Device 42 is looking at that workflow information, we can visualize this in a way that kind of bridges all those together. So taking a look at the workflows, and obviously this is dynamic, so I could take a look at this ESX host. I could see the different VMs running on it. I could see the physical PDUs that are supporting it. So whether it's a digital asset, whether it's a physical component, we can bring them all together. We can actually bring that down from a workload down into the physical assets. So here are the switches, the patch panels that are supporting this, and ultimately turning this into a Jupyter application, which is how my application team is utilizing that information. Now, because we're grabbing all that software information, we can put that into an easy to digest report. So whether I wanted to take a look at this at consumption or the number of licenses, I could see all my software assets within my environment, find out how they're being utilized. Am I over providing? Am I under providing? A great example is if I'm working on resiliency, here I'm relying on this AB assistant service. I have 2 licenses, but I've utilized 5. So I'm already in a bad position to be able to react in a DR setting because I'm already over provisioned. So being able to identify that to help with that resiliency is an important function. But while I'm at it, I could also look to see if there's going to be issues with that information crossing boundaries. So we talked about the idea of kind of zones and if something could be accessed from a different one. We could show that really quickly by going to advanced reporting. If I want to take a look at some of my audit and compliance, I could take a look at service connections across environments. So if I have PII data within my institution and I have that in my production environment, I want to indicate if there's services that are bridging those silos, right? Do I have communications that are bridging between production and development, for instance? If I have GDPR data, is this going to be problematic? Because this would be essentially a spill zone, right? If I can have customer data accidentally get into my development, that gets captured in backups, and now people can't have the right to be forgotten, for instance. Some other information that we have available to us would be in the storage array perspective. Again, this will help you with those DR workflows for your resiliency, but again, is showing an area where you might need to plan for extra protection. If you had a vulnerability, say in your NetApp cluster, but now here what I've shown is my Isilon maps to some of the same servers that my NetApp does. If a mal user could take advantage of the vulnerability within this NetApp and maybe jeopardize this Windows machine and then use that to get access to my Isilon that had my financial data, that is obviously a big problem. So understanding how everything is mapped, whether it's a workflow, whether it's storage mapping, whether it's services across different silos, is very important for this Resiliency Act.
When things don't go as expected, it can be, well, frustrating. Not with Owner, though.
Another thing that I wanted to talk to is how do we bring this all the way down into DSIM? Well, I'm going to take one step first. So there's the physical, but there's also the cloud. And since Jörg mentioned that, let's take a quick look at some of our resources. We're going to take a look at our cloud resources and show that they follow that a similar kind of idea of how do I map it throughout my environment, even if that's a cloud environment. So here I just literally grabbed the first SQL Server I have. Hopefully this is a real record. But giving me information about this, but more importantly, what's the resource map? How is this used within my environment? So if it's part of my East US environment, can I expand that? See what else is in my East US? How is this Postgres being used? So on and so forth. So being able to tie all the dependencies up and downstream from that device, whether that's a cloud asset, whether that's a physical asset, whether that's an application asset, and then ultimately ending up all the way down into the physical world of, so what, where does this actually live? So within DSIM, which is definitely a part of IT asset management, how do I visualize this room, this actual data center? Here I have my environment. I am picking up some really good information because we're doing that SNMP scan against smart PDUs. It's feeding me information like temperature sensors, relative humidity. I can see those ores reflected here. I can even pick up power usage across an entire rack, find out if I have free power drops, things like that. But this becomes something I can interact with. If I want to take a look at the layout of this rack, I can see the rack, I can visualize it, I can get an idea of what I'm going to be looking at if I were to walk into that data center. But then I can also take a look at my physical connections, right? As I'm going in and playing the your card of pulling cables and seeing what happens. Now I have a map to get an idea of what might happen. So I could see what's at the end of each Ethernet port. I could see what's at the end of each PDU. So when I go and pull that cable, I have a crystal ball as to who's going to complain, right? And that's important because it's fun to have an idea. The last piece I want to talk about is the power distribution. And this really does play a role in resiliency because, if you lose power to something, that's kind of a big deal. You can take a look at this view. Maybe this is useful to you. I actually like this layout better, this kind of layout.
I must say, we are building an infrastructure that's very energy dependent and very critical in terms of one node is not online. And again, this is why they're trying to be resilient, because if that node goes down, a large sector of the network is down. That is interesting.
So here's the ESX host. This is where my demo environment actually resides on. This is a physical Dell server. And you can see I do have redundant power, which is very nice. It's certainly for resiliency. But if we take a look further, that's actually both tying into the same PDU. So I don't actually have resiliency. I only have it at the cable level. That's not going to get it done if this is my Oracle server that's running my financials, right? From that perspective, I want to make sure it's tied against multiple PDUs. But then because this is a full CMDB, we can even jump into the PDU and find out information like what is my tri-phase power draw, what's at the end of each outlet, what is my power usage over time. So that's kind of where we sit within that world. It's the automated discovery to that point of things change, and if it changes, then your source of record is no longer useful. Because we're doing this automated, that means it's always up to date, it's always fresh, it's always authoritative. We will take a look at the physical layer, but then also the software layer. We'll take a look at the services layer. We'll even take a look at the resource utilization layer, and then pull all that together into individual dashboards, into different reports, and ultimately put this together into that DSIM view that then gets leveraged by DC Smarter and pulls the whole thing together, which is you've taken the workflows, you've taken the physical, now you have people interacting with the physical. How do they do that? So I'm going to hand it back over to you so you can show what DC Smarter is doing with that, and then we'll be available for any questions.
Super, thanks a lot, Bob. Really good. Yes, so let me say a few words because we are working as a partner of Device 42 now since 2021, actually. So, and when we started to build our own software, there was a reason at the time when we looked into a partnership like Device 42, because we were always under the impression that a lot of companies struggle with getting basically logically discovered information, data. So let's say you run a scan in the network, you find what you have, you get the IP addresses plus all the kind of attributes, but you have challenges to map it out, to locate things. So really down to which location, which room, which rack, which height unit. And this is when we started. So our journey basically goes back to that time. So this is when we started to build our own software to correspond or answer to questions we got from customers. So you have seen this beautiful visualization in the module, right? In the DSIM module. But the question is, how do you get there? It's not automatically happening. We do understand the dependencies, yes, which asset belongs to which, but can we graphically lay this out or do this? And that's exactly what we're doing. So we are using also artificial intelligence for that. So basically we trained pictures and we are in a position to basically go in front of a rack, scan the rack from top to down, take the information we got from the solution, from the DSIM database, and map it out and do it in record time. If you ever have been in a data center and you have done that task, you know what I'm talking about. This is not a trivial exercise. Usually it's an experienced engineer who is doing that. You are operating in a very sensitive environment. So you really want to make it high quality work and fast, because if it's not fast, then it's never going to happen. And statistically proven, more than half of the companies out there don't have a complete or accurate documentation. And there's a reason for that. It's just too complex, right? So you need to make it simple. And that's exactly where we come in. So I will play a little video and then we will open it up for Q&A. Let me just run this video and go.
Meet Jobber Copilot, your AI business coach, data analyst, and marketing expert in your back pocket.
In the digital era, effective asset management is pivotal for operational efficiency in data centers and IT environments. DC Vision by DC Smarter transforms this process with a blend of augmented reality, digital twin technologies, and AI. This innovative solution automates asset inventory, enhancing visibility and control by integrating with existing IT management systems and capturing uncatalogued assets through API-based connectors. With DC Vision, engineers can easily scan and identify hardware assets, enriching the database with precise details like asset status and location. The result? A streamlined, updated inventory that boosts operational efficiency, ensures compliance, and optimizes resource utilization. Embrace the future of asset management with DC Vision, where technology bridges data gaps, propelling your organization towards optimized operations.
Based on what we just saw in that demonstration, within their demo video, the critical link I see within their infrastructure of updating inventory is that they physically need to send a human to the data center to check the data center. Now, I'm not trying to get rid of humans, but in the same respect, it should just be able to push information to the operator. Yet in this diagram, the operator has to physically go to the unit.
Embrace the future of asset management with DC Vision, where technology bridges data gaps, propelling your organization towards optimized operations.
All right, so I think that was Finding Dora, the webinar. So I'd like to open it up now to question. I think, John, I've seen we have a couple of questions, so I'd like to give you the word.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jörg. So I've got a couple of questions inside here, which had already kind of put some answers together during the session. But yeah, let me go ahead and take some of them. So Dora, is it just purely relating to hardware or application dependency? So you got to look at this. There's many tools out there in the market that are looking at hardware, traditional DSIM, ITAM, ITSM tools that basically will give you the inventory of what you've got. However, just being able to know where it is, being able to ensure that it's connected, dual redundancy and power on the hardware side isn't enough. If you look back at just a month ago, we had the outage with CrowdStrike, and CrowdStrike wasn't a hardware failure, it was a software failure. So the operating system was unable to function. Now, in Device 42's case, we actually published a set of instructions for our customers out to the marketplace that basically said, if you go through, we can enable you to be identify the servers where CrowdStrike's deployed. We'll be able to tell you where they are, what the connection is, what are the other applications that are affected on those machines, their impact to the rest of the data center's state, and the criticality. So that enabled customers to be able to focus on specific machines in a specific order to get their mean time to recovery much faster. So another question that came inside here is power resilience. How does this play into Dora? So let's take a look at this one. So really there's two aspects to here. So increasingly today on the facilities side of a data center, power is being managed by software. There are monitoring tools, optimization tools that are monitoring, looking at the power strip, looking at the PDU consumption. It's ultimately still software. If that software was to go down for any particular one reason, then you could potentially face in a major localized incident in a data center at a very quick speed. So this is one area that we need to be able to consider, not just the systems that are being monitored, but the systems that are doing the monitoring themselves. The second part of this also comes down to be able to understand how an outage can rapidly escalate up the power chain. So if, for example, you had a localized power outage, you could have applications on that server that are impacted. Those applications might also be communicating with other servers that might not necessarily be in the data center. They might be in the cloud. So you might have a situation where you've got a SQL server that's local and storage that's stored in AWS, for example. If that outage suddenly happened in one place, the impact could be tremendous quite widely. In the demo that Bob just showed there, we also showed storage. So it's very possible, for example, for somebody to come into an organization using open firewall ports. There's a port 22 that Bob talked about there. So somebody could hack through that. They could hack into a server that's quite innocent. I remember an incident about a decade ago where somebody hacked a major retail store through the air conditioning system. So you've got an innocent server. That innocent server then maps to the SAN. inside that SAN, they can start to work through the partitions to get to some servers that may be more critical. So very quickly, you can see how we can escalate through an organization. I've got another question inside here to just pick up. How is the Device 42 approach different to ITAM tools? Okay, so again, talking about DCI, I'm talking about ITAM, hardware asset management, software asset management. Each one of these are individual standalone disciplines. You can manage your hardware estate. You can look at cloud tools that will be looking at optimization and cost, for example. Really, with Device 42, we're taking a holistic view. We're looking at the hardware, which is traditionally a facilities management focus. We're looking at software, traditionally an IT operations focus. We're looking at cloud native applications, which typically, again, cloud monitoring tool focus. We're looking at the dependencies between all of this. So we're looking at the software, the hardware, the logical layer, and also external influences like hybrid and cloud. All of this is managed in one tool. That's what's really making us a little different when we talk about DORA, because we really are a one tool that can cover the whole aspect of an IT estate. Remember, when an outage happens, somebody isn't going to say that server's gone down. They're going to say, my trading application stops, my payroll application stops, or whatever it is that's critical to the business. And the focus there is going to be to understand what are the components of that application? How are those components of that application distributed? How is that distributed communicated? And where are those components to be able to get to that point of failure? That's the critical part. If you've got to go through 5 or 6 different tools to get there, your time to recover is exponentially increasing. And we're doing this as a constant ongoing monitoring platform. We're going through, constantly discovering, updating the information that we're discovering at all levels: application, hardware, software, cloud, virtual, data center, on-premise. It's not a static or a dynamic tool by any way. Let me just say, is there any other questions that were inside the chat there? I think that was about everything. Anything in the chat? No, that was everything I've got there. Anything else, Jörg, that you might want to add, or Bob, you might want to add?
No, I think we covered it. What's always important to me, I used to be head of IT operations, I come from a time where still a company thought that they could compensate activities like that, which they're not having in a tool with resources. And that was always an illusion. I can tell you that I've worked for large global international companies, and whenever we tried to put a task force on it and give it a chance to have resources coming up with these dependencies or try to maintain it, it was a mission impossible. So yes, there's a price to pay for tools like that, but it is the only way. I have to be honest with that. I've seen this in all my 26 years as an operations lead in large corporations. So automation is king, hybrid approach is king, and you have to have tools like that. That's just my personal opinion and takeaway from my time in the corporation and the corporate world. Yeah, all good stuff, good questions and comments.
Bob, anything for yourself?
No, the only thing that I have to add is not overly valuable, which is the idea of hacking in through the AC. Sounds like a really cool idea.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Unfortunately,
Sorry, dad jokes are real with me.
Yeah, I've been in the industry a long time, so I've got a lot of horror stories along the way like that. There was a server rack once that was deliberately kept open with a traffic cone because it didn't have adequate heating, and somebody came along one day, saw the traffic cone, shut the rack door, and it ended up taking down an airline. So yeah, there's plenty of stories like that out there in the industry. I mean, the thing is, it's important here is Device 42 is not a point-in-time tool, and it is not a tool that is maintained by people who are reliant on external processes to be able to get it. We go out, we get the data. Once we've got the data, we're constantly looking at that data for change over the time. It's that automated approach that really allows you to see what you've got. Coming back to DORA, and just to kind of wrap it up with the last anecdote there was an insurance company that we once worked with. They went out and they did a scan. That scan came back, nothing particularly exciting about it. They discovered their assets. There's always assets running out there they didn't know they had. A repurposed server that somebody decided not to throw away, make into a data warehouse and reuse for something else. However, in this particular instance, those servers were in Sri Lanka. This was an English insurance company. They got quite alarmed quite quickly by what it was. It turned out to be quite innocent. They divested of a business unit several years before. Nobody had turned off their access. And that's why you need tools like Device 42, and that's why compliance reasons for DORA exists.
Thank you. No, good conclusion, good takeaway. Thanks a lot, John. So we are now, we are at the end of the session. So what we're going to do is I would send out a note with the link to the recording, and you will find our contact details. So let's stay in touch. I hope you find it useful, and big thanks for your time and attention today. Goodbye. Bye.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.
That's interesting. As they said, the critical infrastructure, or the major infrastructure that they're about to put online, has major critical and vulnerable points. This is why they are bent set on having a resilient infrastructure. So that is going to be an interesting set of events. So how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel that this market is going to be able to keep up with the resilience, or be able to safeguard against the hackers? I've been seeing some individuals fishing for people's wallets and being successful, looting them for all that they got. So could you just imagine if a major bank or a major node got hacked? That would be interesting, bro. So once again, thank you for joining me. Comment down below, and let's try this. Let's try and see what happens moving on in the future. Do we have enough resilience to continue doing business on the digital market? It seems very vulnerable to me, but a lot of these servers, the major servers, are deep underground. They're in Faraday cages. They got nuclear power generators. All right. It's more so for the smaller businesses, the like $1 million caps businesses, but the government, they got their shit deep underwater. So don't worry about them. It's just, are they going to put us in a position where we're basically herded into a node that they can easily shut down? You know, think of one of your exchanges just shutting down. All right. All of a sudden, Binance doesn't have power. Coinbase don't have power. Their internet goes down. We're going to leave that there. Thank you again for joining me in another Financial New. Hope you guys are doing well in this market. Comment down below. Subscribe. Let me know how you feel. Give thanks.